Dang it. Jimbo, you look so happy today.
I'm always
How's
happy.
your life? I don't care. Chris, how's your life going?
Good. All good, mate. You?
Lovely. It's so much better until Jim showed up, but now that he's here, I guess.
Like you haven't been begging me to join every single Monday.
Well,
like you didn't change from a Tuesday to a Monday in order that I was available more often, and then you come on here and you start giving it nah. That's okay.
I do think it was kind of funny that we literally changed our days from Tuesdays to Mondays so that it could basically work better for you and Lonnie. And then you don't come onto the show for 5 straight weeks after we change for you. How does that work out?
It's not me. Blame my team. Yeah.
I suspect that they want you just about as much as I do, so they were pretty disappointed you came too.
It's unnecessary, Nate.
Yeah.
Hi, Chris. How are you?
I'm good, mate. How are you?
Yeah, pretty good.
Good.
Hi to Hillbilly Island Life and yes to crypto. How you guys doing? Thank you for tuning in. If you're tuning in out there, please give the stream a share. Help us get going. We got some pretty cool things we're announcing in the next few weeks. I guess next week we'll start with those. So I don't know. That's just a tease. You want to tune in next Monday around noon Central Time, wherever you're at. This is the same time we try to go live every week. So try to tune in next week. We had a pretty cool announcement that'll be exclusive to the Cue It Up podcast listeners. So there's a little tease for next week. I guess let's just jump right in with the Whirlpool Masters. Ko Ping-yi is our champion. I forget, Chris, who was it that picked Ko Ping-yi last week when we did this show? Who was it that picked him to win? Do you remember who that was?
Oh yeah, good.
You remember?
Yeah. Pick a world champion to win it. Yeah, well done.
Oh yeah, because 13 of those players aren't world champions, you clown.
Every time I pick one of the favorites, oh Jim, you always go in for one of the favorites, and now I don't, and I go for slightly an outsider. Now you're giving it, yay!
Who was your slight outsider?
Mario.
Yeah, we picked 2 players. I picked Mario too. Who was your other
Mario
player?
and Jason.
That's just because you slurp on Jason.
Slurp.
Wow. I've got better things to do with my time. I could be doing something else right now. I don't have to be here. It's not like you're paying me.
Jim, you know you love the abuse. Don't even start with me. He was my pick. But I guess let's look at the event. As the event as a whole, it looked, I don't know, pretty fantastic. What was your takeaway, Chris?
Yeah, just the same as pretty much all of the events that they do. I do like this one better because they had the 14 top players on the rankings and then 2 wildcards, 2 great wildcards, especially Aranis. I think that's a player that everybody who hasn't been in the States where he's been playing for the last few years, he's a player that everybody else knows about and has really wanted to see play. I was really excited to see him play. He did himself, no injustice at all. He played brilliant all the way through. I just loved having all those great players there. The longer races were good as well. Better than, was it races to 7 before and then races to 8 a little bit later on?
It was 7, 8, and 9. 7 in the beginning, 9 was the final.
Yeah, but this is I think we've spoken about it quite a few times before about Matchroom being able to change the format to the invitationals. I don't think it would hurt if they even made some of these matches longer in the Masters. But yeah, good long races. Everybody played well. Don't think anybody had a nightmare. We didn't get to see much of Jason. But other than that, yeah, it's good.
This kind of, I guess going into the Jason aspect of this, it's kind of continues his run of, he doesn't always draw the best players, but everybody plays the best against him.
Yeah.
For about a 2.5 year stretch now. He's had some pretty brutal draws. And at the end of the day, I guess any player that you end up playing in these events can do that to you. And part of it, part of being a great player and the best player is, taking a match that somebody is dominating you in and finding a way to flip it on. The perfect example of that, it was Niels and Eklund. What is it? Eklund's down 6-0. And then next thing you know, he's up 9-6. And he just took that match away. At the end of the day, Is it easy to do? No, but at some point in time, like if you want to be the best and you want to be winning these big events, at some point in time, you have to take any opening that you can see, and you just have to take it and run with it. And I think Kachi did that better than anybody this event.
Yeah, you're going to get that if you get all the best players together. It doesn't really matter within reason how far ahead you get. That one opening, and it can change everything.
Jim, what'd you think?
I thought it was great entertainment. I know some people had comments after the Max Lechner Mohammed Sufi match that with the being 4 golden breaks in there, that the break was wrong. I mean, you can't make decisions on that based on one match. And I think we saw overall the tournament, we had some fantastic, exciting matches. Everything was close. Kachi was 9-7, 11-10, 11-10 to get to the final, and the match against Niels was just phenomenal. The match against Mario I thought was excellent as well. And I thought we saw some highly entertaining matches with that format. Whether you're for winner breaks or against winner breaks, whether you like the break rules or not, you can't argue with the entertainment there. And I think Matchroom have pretty much, they've tinkered with things over the tournaments that they've done, and I think they've pretty much got it right. The only thing that's maybe, that I'm not sure how they solve it, and I don't really want to have a big long discussion on it because we have before, is the whole what's considered to be a soft break and what's not considered to be a soft break. That's the only thing that's a little bit, it's down to personal opinion, isn't it, of the referee, whether or not. And I mean, you saw Niels against Kachi, you saw that at a given moment he was warned about his break, and he went there and he was having to hit it a lot harder. He was hitting it as hard as he could to make sure that he didn't get another warning or to get a ball in hand against him. And he lost the white a couple of times. He wasn't making the one ball, and it kind of changed the match for him a little bit. He couldn't get a run going because he couldn't get his break. So yeah. But other than that, I thought it was a fantastic event. I got only good things to say about it. And excellent event, excellent winner. Cole was just magical to watch. He's just so smooth, insane, brilliant.
I think that you can often make an argument that the best player didn't win, or the best player didn't make it to the finals. And I don't think that you can argue with the 2 best players in this tournament were playing in the finals. And I think the best player that was playing in this tournament won the event. I don't think that anybody's going to question that. What, either of you?
No, he played the best throughout the event, definitely.
I mean, you looked to last year, and Joshua Filler definitely probably played the best in that event. Loho, some making it to the finals. I think if you watch his event, every single one of his was a grinder. There was a ton of mistakes made in almost every single match. And Loho, he grinded through those to his credit, and he made it to the finals. And he got beat, but you could make a pretty serious argument that he didn't deserve to be there last year. Maybe I don't think you can make that argument this year.
Yeah.
Well, so Jim, I guess I'll just move on from that then. Jim, you addressed a lot of things. The golden breaks. I think if you could definitely tell when JJ's in the box that the U.S. players or the U.S. fans just don't care about it. JJ's commentating and he's like, "Oh, here comes another golden break." He's like the most monotone voice ever, and he doesn't get too worked up about anything. So, it kind of makes sense a little bit. But you get like the UK announcers in there, and they're like, it's like the most exciting thing that they've ever seen. It's like you can definitely tell the Matchroom wants it because it is an exciting thing, right? But I think you just kind of hear the tone that's different when JJ's in there versus that. If you had to say what a perfect number of golden breaks is per match, I guess as 2 people from Europe, what do you guys think would be? Because they are exciting in a sense, right? I mean, they have a uniqueness to them that it's enjoyable to see, right? I mean, do we want to see it 4 times in a single match? I don't know about that. I mean, then you just lose a lot of action. But
I think it's enjoyable to watch now because over the series of events where the break rules changed, now you're seeing people dial the break in. So Lechner's 100% trying to hit that 9 ball every single time. He's made it 3. As the events go on, I think we're just going to see more of them, but it's 75 or 80% skill and 20% luck. I would go with something like that, maybe.
to that, I mean, Max might be, he made 3 in that set. The next time he might scratch 3 times off the bottom side of the top side of that 9-ball.
Maybe, but because he was coming in, not to be a geek, but because when he was cutting it in did you see when they superimposed the 3 breaks on top of each other?
There was 2 of them that looked exactly the same.
They put the 3rd one on, and that was pretty much carbon copy as well. Because he's coming a little bit below the 9-ball, and he's cutting back on it, sort of. It's not. I would have agreed with you before I saw that. It's 50-50 whether the cue ball's going to go in or the 9. But seeing the way Lechner was hitting it, I don't think it is 50-50. I don't think it is. Sure. If he catches it, I don't think it's quite 50-50.
Well, on that table, under those conditions, with that humidity, with that, amount of stimuli in the room, of course, but maybe you get on a different table with just a little bit different, or just a different time of the day, or maybe it's a little bit later in the tournament and 30 more people show up, and that that might make a little bit of a difference too, to change that playing conditions.
Well, I mean, I go back to Lechner's. How's my audio now? Is that better?
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah.
Okay. Going back to Lechner, how did he break? How did he get on in the second match? Golden breaks. Was he scratching? I mean, the pros are playing that break. Listen, you've got to play that break to make the 1-ball, which means you're cutting the 1-ball. You're playing a cut break and cutting the 1-ball. You're having to hit it hard, or you're going to get a warning. So the white is flying. So these guys, they're not necessarily trying to make the 9. They're trying to use the 9 to slow down the cue ball. Yeah, if they do make it, then okay, bonus. Would they rather not? They'd rather have a break where they don't have to be flying the white round and hoping for a contact on something. But that's the break they have to play, because the 1-ball is the most chance of making a ball. So they come into the 9, and my opinion is slightly different from Chris. When 2 balls contact each other, there's 3 things that can happen. This one goes in, or neither of them go in. So I do think it's 50-50. And if you look at the stats from over the tournament, from number of scratches after contacting the 9 and the number of golden breaks, scratching is slightly more. There was a lot of scratches in the bottom corner. There was a lot of scratches. Niels had like 2 scratches in a row into the center pocket against Kachi. It's these things that they're doing. They don't want the white flying around the table. They'd like to have the white contact and something in the center of the table to give them a better chance, because they can't get the white back up table anymore. Right? They used to play that break from the side rail, and they'd be able to screw the white off the rail and back into center table. They can't do it from the box. So they need a way to keep the cue ball round about center table to give them the best opportunity to have a shot on the 2-ball wherever the 2-ball might be laying. Center table is where you want to be, but they can't get center table anymore and make the 1. So they're trying to get that contact on the 9-ball to hold it somewhere centrally. And if the 9 goes in, the 9 goes in. That's the ball that they're aiming to hit. It's the one that should be there. It should never move from the break. So that's why they're doing it. If it goes in, it goes in, and we're going to, I mean, you still see the hand going up and apologizing for it. I think that'll probably disappear after a while, because all the players know that, yes, I'd be doing the same. I'm trying to hit the 9 as well. So it's not necessarily that they're trying to pot it. They know that can happen, but they also know they can scratch. So it's a risk reward. It's a bit of a dangerous one, but they want to make that 1-ball. That's it, and that's the only way you're going to make it. Yeah,
Lechner didn't apologize after the 3rd one.
He just laughed. Yeah. What's the point? He knows. He knows that the apology is pointless, because it's not.
If you break that way and you get a contact on the 9 a couple of times, then you make it once, you make it twice. After you've made it once, and I know that I've hit the break that way, well, the 2nd and 3rd time, as far as I'm concerned, I'm going for it. You're trying to make the 1 at that point, and your second prize is making the 9, right?
But so let's not forget how incredibly difficult it is to be that consistent.
Absolutely.
So you have to be exactly the same speed, exactly the same point on the 1-ball with exactly the same amount of spin.
That's what everyone's going for, though, isn't it?
Well, yes, that's the break. But the number 1 priority is making the 1.
Absolutely.
The second priority is trying to control the white as much as possible. And if they do all that and they still make the 9, then they're delighted. Yeah. But they're happy just to have the 1-ball somewhere in the middle of the table. Sorry, the 1-ball in and the cue ball somewhere in the middle of the table. That's what they want. And anything else is a bonus for them. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I think, yeah, I mean, Mike Pinoza kind of says it perfectly in the chat there. You're never going to see them go away because they're just too exciting. You're never going to see a jump queue go away because it's just too exciting. I mean, there's nothing better as a viewer than seeing somebody pull out a short queue and jump over another ball and pot another ball. I mean,
Hate it.
you hate it, sure. But as a viewer, I mean, there's nothing more exciting than that. I mean, that is the pinnacle. That's the best that you can do.
But as far as you talked about the commentators, the difference in the way they react to it. I mean, JJ's not the kind of commentator that gets really, really excited. He's more of like the pure explaining stuff. But Carl's there as like the colourful guy kind of thing, you know, and he'll put a little bit more into it than what he really thinks himself, you know. I mean, he's seen so many golden breaks. As a professional player, you don't really like them, you know. As a professional player, you'd rather win or lose based on, you know, running the racks as well. But if you get one, you're delighted. If you don't, if it's your opponent, then you're in your stool and you're in your chair and you're stewing over it, you know. So he's in the commentary to make this to up the excitement and everything. If somebody gets a golden break and he starts screaming and shouting, "Oh, unbelievable, great!" That's his job to do that. It's his job to do that. He'll make a little bit more of it than what he really thinks himself, I'm sure. You know.
Sure. Well, I mean, I guess as far as the initial things that you said, Jim, I would say I just wanted to touch on those things specifically.
Mm-hmm.
I guess the takeaways from the events. Does anybody else have anything as far as just the takeaway of the event?
No. No.
I thought
Great.
I thought it was another step forward by Matchroom. I think they're doing all the right things. They're changing and adjusting all the correct things. And I that was great. Yeah,
I do agree with I guess the real KKN. The Predator Arena look. I mean, the Predator. I hate to bring this back to Predator and Matchroom because I mean I feel like that's kind of going to be kind of the biggest conversation for the next year to year and a half is in this industry is, you know, who's going to win it out, Matchroom or Predator. As far as just the TV experience, I think Predator still blows Matchroom away with what they do on just the Predator or just the TV stage, the way that it looks in the background. Oh, I love the way Predator's done what they've done with that LED that runs all the way across in the background. That I think it just looks fantastic. You could. It's an open argument. It's a debate. But I think. But as far as like the ambiance of the room, Predator does nothing. I mean, it's not even. They're not even in the same. They're not even in the same stratosphere. I mean, what Matchroom does to make the entire ambiance of the room, of the event, of the the feeling that you get when you walk into that room, Predator's got no chance, and they never will be able to because Predator is piggybacking off of a bunch of amateur events for most of their stuff. So there's a bunch of ball bangers, in the background, slamming balls, shooting cue balls off the table, stuff like that. Matchroom is a professional sport only. They're not looking to partner with all these little rink-a-dink state tournaments. So Predator will never argue on that or be able to compete on that. But I mean, as far as like just that LED screen that Predator introduced in Vegas, man, I think that just looks sick.
Yeah. It's pretty good.
So you want. I mean, when you've got two big guns, sort of, I wouldn't say competing against each other, but you don't want one to be the best at everything because then you want them to be pushing each other a little bit. And if there's certain parts of it that the Predator do better and Matchroom think, right, we need to up our game in this department because like you say, that looks sick what Predator have got there. Predator look at Matchroom. I mean, there's certain things that the Predator it's going to be very difficult for Predator to compete with on the production side of it. There's many more doors open for Matchroom as far as television and stuff like that go than there is for Predator. Predator's still basically just streaming. So the quality of the commentators take nothing away from the guys that do the commentating, Tony Robles, and the guys that do the Tim DeRouter that do a great job in the commentating for the Predator. It's not the same as they're not up there with JJ. I think JJ and Boise together that is like
yeah.
Well,
it's really good combination.
If you put a list of the top 10 greatest commentators in pool today, 5 of them are going to be Matchroom. The top 5 are going to be Matchroom. once you get down past like 5, I mean, maybe you get like Tony Robles in there, but maybe you get. But as far as like the top, I mean, you're talking Carl, you're talking Jeremy, you're talking like I think Allison Fisher was amazing. I think Niels was amazing.
Alex is good. Alex Lady's class.
Alex Lely is absolutely. And then from there, I mean, I think you would all agree that at least Niels, Alex, JJ, and Carl are in a class of their own, right? Maybe there's somebody else that goes in there, but they're the top 4.
But I think if you're a commentator, you've got to be doing it a lot of the time, and Niels isn't doing it a lot of the time. He's a player.
No, I think Niels gets invited in as a player sometimes, but I don't think you can't really class him as a commentator. He's of all the players who come into the box now and again, then yes, he's right up there as one of the best. But the other ones you mentioned, Alex. I mean, Alex is massively experienced in doing commentary. He does the commentary on Eurosport for the snooker all the time. Incredibly knowledgeable. Same kind of thing as JJ. Boise just knows the game well. He knows the players. He comes across very well with his interviews as well. He just naturally sort of fell into it. Like, it was amazing, really. Phil Yates is in there. He's a well-known voice in the UK, maybe not so much outside of the UK with all the sports stuff that he's done through the years with different sports. So he's a well-known voice. He has that, there's certain commentators that you just know exactly who it is as soon as they open their mouth, Michael, is it McMillan?
Yeah.
I think he really like him. He's really good as well. Yeah. So they have a good team there, and that's what you want, in every department. You want to have a good teams that complement each other, and those 4, I'd say 5 with Alex Lely in there now and again, they complement each other. They work well together, and it just comes across really, really well on the TV. Yeah.
Well, I mean, as far as the event, I think the next big step for Matchroom, I mean, just as my opinion, they need to probably get the audience, the ambiance of the room, as far as like getting people in there. And Kurt kind of said this as a comment in there. Predator pretty much guarantees an audience because it's free, and there are a bunch of people that are there for other reasons. So that they piggyback off of these amateur events. So because of that, there's a minimum of 100 to 200 people that are going to be there, and a maximum of like maybe if you go to Vegas, maybe there's 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 people that are going to be there. All you got to do is walk over from your table over to the pro arena and sit down and watch a match. I mean,
but I mean, the UK is not a big pool country at the moment, so having some of the events here, especially like the Masters in Brentwood in Essex, which isn't London, it's outside of London. It's not in the middle of nowhere, but it's like a commuter town or something, really. That you're not really going to get a ton of people turning up to it. It's a matter of convenience, I'd assume, for Matchroom to have it there. Sure. It was the same as Gibraltar, right? Not a great place to have it, but obviously for whatever commercial reasons, getting a venue, etc. That's why they've decided to have it there. But there's, in 10 years' time, if it's massive, it's not going to be in Brentwood. But Matchroom started off with their boxing shows in that same arena, I think, and now they do them at Wembley Stadium.
And let's not forget, a large chunk of the event was done during the week in the afternoons. People are working,
Yeah. Well, this is my exact point, right? I think this is the next big step for Matchroom is figuring out how to get people in, getting their butts in the seats, because they've obviously done it with the Mosconi Cup, which is the easy one, right? Everybody wants to go to the Mosconi Cup already, and now they open up tickets and they're sold out within, I don't know, minutes basically at this point. I guess I don't even is the Mosconi Cup completely sold out? I know they didn't have a ton of tickets left once. For the pre-sale.
They haven't. Normally they're very quick to announce when they're sold out, and I haven't seen any sort of announcement. So I assume there's some ticket. It might just be individual VIP tickets that are still available for certain days or whatever. But
here and there, it's some. So yeah, I mean, maybe I know that last year at the U.S. Open, the finals. I mean, obviously it's the finals. It's going to be a little bit different. But I want to say the finals probably had 500 to 700 people sitting in and around watching it, which is, I mean, for the U.S. Open at Atlantic City. And if you know anything about Atlantic City, it's not easy to get to. I mean, if you're not going there for a reason, like if you're not going there for like the casino life or, whatever it is, it's not easy to get to. I mean, you got to fly into Philadelphia basically and then drive the hour and 15 to 20 minutes it is just to get there. It's it's pretty hard to get to. So the fact that, of course you're going to be able to pull from like people from Virginia and Maryland and New Jersey and stuff like that. I mean, it's not super hard to get to if you're in the area, but as far as like a destination, it's kind of hard to get to. I would assume that the US Open is going to continue to grow just like it has for the last 3 years. Cause I mean, I was there 2 years ago and I would not say the finals maybe had 200-300 people at it. And then this year had probably, if I had to guess a number, I would probably say around 600 that they actually had there for the event. Are they going to have 800 this year, 1,000 this year? Who knows? But I mean, it's growing. It's growing and it's growing quickly. So you see all these events, and they kind of panned around a little bit to the outside, but there wasn't many people there in the beginning. The finals, I guess I don't remember actually looking at the crowd for the finals. Did you guys notice there was a decent crowd in there for the finals?
It was okay. Yeah, there was enough there to create an atmosphere. Yeah,
sure.
Yeah. I guess it was on the weekend. It was on the weekend. So I mean, if you're going to decide that you're going to go there and watch some pool, then you're going to leave it till the weekend and see the semi-finals and the final. So for the whole day for Saturday for the semi-finals and the finals, there was quite a few people there.
I'll say 120.
So Boise's said it was about 120. Carl, just out of curiosity, were you there last year? Well, obviously you were there last year. Do you remember how many were there last year? It'd be interesting to see because the U.S. Open grew like crazy. The Mosconi Cup has obviously grown like crazy. It'd be interesting to see all
the last time I went to the Masters was in Gibraltar about, I'm going to say maybe 4 years ago. Oh, wait a minute. It was the one that Al-Qaeda won when he banked the ball.
2019.
Was that 2019 or 2018? 2018, 2019. And there wasn't 120 people there for the final.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it seems to be growing. I mean, obviously the way that Matchroom does their marketing, the way they do their all of their hype around these events. I mean, I want to go to them. Like the Mosconi Cup, especially now that they're kind of increasing the prices around stuff. I mean, it's not cheap to get to. It's really, really, there's a good chunk of money that you got to put up to be able to get to these events. And with that being said, I mean, I still don't want to ever miss them. I mean, the way that Matchroom does them, I don't want to miss out on the opportunity to be there in person. I mean, you get it from Daz in a little bit. I mean, it's fine. I don't think that you're ever going to be able to get the excitement over TV that you'll be able to get from being on site. But like, it's to the point now where like the Matchroom events are just so much fun. I never want to miss them. And I don't get that. I just don't get that vibe with Predator events. I just don't. I mean, maybe it's because it's
something that's never really advertised or it's never really built up. I mean, you've got people. We've been going to Mosconi Cup for a number of years, and we can tell everybody how amazing the atmosphere is, and everybody knows it. They see it on TV. But I've also been to the Masters. I've been to the World Cup of Pool. I've been to the Opens, the UK Open, the European Open. And I'll tell you, the European Open was a great atmosphere.
Yeah, brilliant.
There was a big crowd there towards the end of it. Maybe not every day, but towards the end of it, the crowd really, really built up, and it was a great atmosphere in there. And maybe we should be the people who actually go to these events. Maybe we should be spending more time telling everybody how awesome the events are, and that they should make the effort to go along to them, because it really is. It's you go to a place like Fulda. So lovely place. We had a great time there, Chris, and lovely place to walk around. Plenty to do in between matches. The weather's always nice that time of year, and you go into the arena. It was a fantastic arena, and just do it. Just go to these things, and try them out. If you're in the UK and you're a pool fan, get yourself to the UK Open. If you don't like it, you don't like it, but I'm pretty sure you will. And you get to see all the top guys. You get to walk around all the tables. The tables are set up so that they're in groups of 4. So any table, if your favorite guy's playing at that match, you have access to that match from anywhere. There's no table that you can't get to. You can be sitting right beside the guy that you want to see, So get yourself there. It's really is amazing. It's I don't understand why more people don't go. I kind of do understand why people don't go, but I'm sure if you did go, you'd go again.
Well, I think it's kind of like I think a lot of this is kind of like breaking the seal, right? I mean, once you go for the first time,
once it opens, the avalanche will happen. It's just getting it open. And maybe it's up to let's say us or people who go and do actually see it to make a bit more of it and to get it out there and let people know and let people see how how good the atmosphere is and how enjoyable it is. You know, there is nothing like being tableside.
No.
Nothing like it. If you're a pool fan, you can watch it on TV and you can say the production's fantastic, love watching it, the commentators are great. There is nothing like being poolside.
Yeah. Well, I'll say this. I mean, that's the reason why I create the Cue It Up network has a Mosconi Cup group every single year. So we always take, I want to say in London 2 years ago, we had a bigger group because your group joined us, Jim. So we had, I think, what did we end up having? Like 28 people in our group, I want to say.
Well, we were up at, we had a max of 30 and we pretty much almost reached it, didn't we?
Yeah, I think we had about 28 people. Yeah. Last year in Vegas, we had 35. This year we have, I only bought 15 tickets this year, but we basically are bringing the same core of 12 people every single year that once they went for the first time, they don't want to miss it. And the London ones are a little bit different, of course, because it's harder to get over the pond. Some people don't have a passport or don't want to get one, blah, blah, blah. There's always more hurdles to jump over to get over the pond. So our groups there are a little bit smaller, but in Vegas every single year, I mean, we have a huge group. And I should say, if you want to go to the Mosconi Cup and want to be a part of the Cue It Up Network group, I do have 4 spare tickets. So reach out to me, message the page, message me personally, or if you just want to jump in with us, we have 4 extra tickets. So any information, just reach me on that. As far as that, but like once you get there, like our group doesn't go away usually. I mean, the same people are there every single year. Once we get in there, it's like you'd never want to not be there again. It's just they're just too much fun. I mean, as long as you can physically afford it. I mean, generally speaking, people don't not go. If that makes sense.
Yeah, the Mosconi Cup is the one that's that's going to make a little bit of a dent in your bank account. The Mosconi Cup, certainly if you're from the USA going over to the UK, or even in the USA, how many people are from Vegas? And you guys have got
so expensive.
Yeah, you still got to buy flights and stuff like that, just like we do, coming over from Europe. So, I mean, but trust me, it's worth every penny. It really is. If you're a pool fan, it just doesn't get any better than Mosconi Cup.
Chris, have you ever been?
No. When I stop playing, then I'll start going to watch it. Definitely, it's on the bucket list, 100%.
When you stop playing, you can't handle being in a crowd that you're not playing in?
When I stop wasting money entering events, I'll start wasting.
Oh. You need to start winning some then.
It looks amazing. Me and a few of my mates, we've never been able to go, but we take that 3 or 4 days off work and just go to the pub every night, drink way too much beer and watch the pool all night for 4 nights in a row. Yep. If you can't get to the pool, organize a watch party for yourself because it's the second best thing, I'd say.
Yep.
Yeah. The one year that we had the COVID, I did do a little watch party.
So did I.
At my local pub, and then I got COVID from it. So that was fun.
I did an online thing. I got everybody, all our group and a few others. We entered a big group chat and just sat watching it together on the group chat, and we live streamed on Facebook. It was quite amusing. Some of the crap that was getting said.
Well, it's kind of the same thing as we always have Little Chris in our group too. So if you're a big YouTuber out there and you follow Little Chris, he's always in our group as well. You can't usually see him; he's pretty short. He has to get a couple of milk crates to sit up on his seat so that he can see over people's heads, but. He does his best. It's funny because I can say that and he's not around to like defend himself. So it's always good. Just kidding, Chris. We love you. All right. So I mean, I guess this was to say like the Mosconi Cup is like the pinnacle, obviously. But I'm telling you what, like the U.S. Open, and I know Jim, you haven't been to one now in 3 or 4 years that you've been to the U.S. Open.
US Open.
Oh, you've never been to one. Okay, right. Yeah. I thought you had gone a little while ago. I'm telling the U.S. Open, man, it's getting very, very, very close to that level of entertainment. You'll never get the same because the crowd just isn't going to be the same. But as far as like the U.S. Open obviously has things that the Mosconi Cup never will have, right? I mean, you have access to new players, interviews. I mean, the booth situation. I mean, there's a bunch of booths that they've built into that now. I mean, there is a ton that the U.S. Open can do that the Mosconi Cup just never will be able to. It's really, really, really fun. You should give a serious thought about coming, Jim. Yeah. If not this year, then next year.
I think about it every year.
Yeah.
But the level of access for fans at the US Open, it must be unrivaled, especially during like the practice day, the first or the second practice day, whenever it is. So I was practicing with Chris Melling, trying to practice with him, but he couldn't take a shot. So we're playing on an outside table, just practicing, getting ready for the event. And all the fans are coming in one after the other, trying to get photos with him and this, that, and the other. So if you're, access wise, if you're a fan, US Open must be the one to go to if you want to meet and greet and get signatures and stuff.
Yeah. And for the most part, I mean, are there any players that you guys can think of that are just not accessible? Like they just don't like talking to fans. They don't like entertaining any sort of. I mean, even the kind of the grumpy ones like Earl. I mean, Earl is quite good with fans as long as he hasn't lost a match recently. I can't think of anybody that's out there that.
No, there's a few of them that have the language barrier. Obviously, if you go to the big international, and it's difficult to, to interact with them. But in general, if you go up to a player and say, "Listen, hi, nice to meet you," blah blah blah, can I have a quick photo? They're all happy to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that seems to be.
And if you come to the Moscone Cup with the Q Up group, then you'll get more than just a quick chat and a handshake with the players. You'll basically be hanging out with them most of the
time. For better or worse.
For better or worse, whether you like it or not. Really.
Yeah, we have some fun, don't we?
Yeah.
Like I said, 4 extra tickets. Reach out. Get rid of these things. All right. So, anyways, I guess let's go back to the event. Koping wins the finals. It was 13-5, I believe, was the finals.
Yeah.
Which was, at the end of an event that good, you would have liked, I think, to have a little bit closer of a finals. But I think if I'm not mistaken, I think it was 5-5, wasn't it, or 5-4?
I think it was 3-3. I don't remember beyond that point.
It was 4-3 to Kachi at one stage.
Yeah, I think it might have been 5-5. I know that it was close up until that point, and then Koping kind of just goes on a tear.
Right.
It would have been nice to have a little bit better of a finals, but I don't know.
I think it was 4-3 Kachi, and then Cole went out to 10-4 and then 10-5, and then he finished it.
Sure. Yeah, that sounds something right. I guess who are you most impressed by in this tournament? Chris, what do you think?
James Aranis. Apart from Ko winning it, I'd say James Aranis. Yeah, I just like watching him play. He hasn't got like a normal like Filipino style of play. I wouldn't say, his arm isn't all over the place, and
he's not overly loose, right?
Yeah, but I just like the way he plays. I like the way he is around the table. Shot selection's good. He's not scared of taking anything on. I just really like watching him play. I thought he was class. If he can get into more and more events, especially with the ranking events being out in Asia, if he can play in all of them, he's gonna shoot right up the rankings, like top 20 or something for sure.
So, Jim, who are you most impressed by?
Niels.
That's mine too. I agree with that.
I think Niels has just made a statement that anyone talking about Moscone Cup captains for the coming year and naming Niels wants in that team, and I think he might. I think he's playing at a level where he feels like he can make it again. That match against Kachi was a killer for him. I've watched the final rack back a few times. The break in the final rack.
Slug.
I don't want to call it a slug. I don't want to call it a pudding, but it didn't. The balls didn't go in the direction that they should be coming out of that rack. Shall we say?
I watched most of that rack, or I watched most of that match, and I will say this: was it a slug? Maybe not. Was that easily the worst rack of the entire match? Yes.
Yeah. It could have just easily been a bad contact.
He hit him pretty well.
Yeah, but
it didn't look wrong to me.
No. What I'm saying is a kick. Could have been a bad contact in that sense, rather than.
That's what I mean. I don't want to call it a slug rack. I don't want to say that he was slugged or he was given a pudding rack. But I've watched it, and they didn't come out the way they should be coming out.
Well, then how's this? It was the worst outcome after hitting
at the worst moment for him as well.
Yes.
But I mean, what an amazing match it was, you know. And Kachi was just there was just anything Kachi was involved in was entertainment, you know. But yeah, Neil's other than Cole winning it, you know, and you know, I was impressed with Kachi as well. You know, he's been more successful with 10 ball in the last years. Hasn't really performed at matchroom events, you know,
the way he's hitting the break is like he's hitting it in a 10 ball type break manner, isn't he?
That's the break he has. I mean, that's what his natural break is. You know, that's why he's so successful with 10 ball. So he's just getting down and hitting exactly the same break and absolutely ramming them. And
he ripped the table apart. Did you see the marks on the table?
Yes, he's never playing on my table. I can tell you this, Kachi, if you're watching and you're around this area thinking about playing the Dutch Open, do not bother asking me if you can come round to my house and play at my table. Because if you do, then you'll be reclothing it afterwards. What a mess he made of that break area. Absolute mess he made of it.
Yeah.
Well, and for the people that are asking about the foul situation, we will talk about that. Don't worry. We're just going to give it a little while, stew on it for a little while, finish out talking about the event first. So, no, I completely agree with you, Jim. I think the most impressive player in the tournament was easily Niels. I mean, the way as far as expectations coming in, for the expectations coming in versus what he did, I think Niels was pretty easily, in my mind, the most impressive player on it. I guess let's switch to who's the most disappointing player of this event, and I guess I'll start it because I didn't start the last one. So I think Victor Zielinski was pretty easily the most disappointing player, and it wasn't because of his performance. It was for all of the opportunities that he had that he wasn't able to take advantage of. I mean, I think as far as play, he played probably the worst of anybody in that field. And he had just as many opportunities to win both of his matches, and he barely skated by the first one. And he had an opportunity. I mean, he probably missed 6 or 7 opportunities at least in that match and loses Hill. I mean, as far as, you know, maybe, and I was talking to actually, I think, Dominic Dunn about this, and I was kind of joking around with him. I'm like, you know what? Victor's going to catch a gear here, and he's going to somehow sneak by this match, win it, and then he's going to go on a tear and he's going to snap this tournament off. And I was kind of saying it as a joke, but it's one of those matches where, like, you've played so awfully bad the entire event by your own standards. And it just seems like one of those things, like, you'll make one shot, you'll make one jump shot, or you'll make one really good combination, or you're going to make some shot that you're just like clicks. And then everything just goes from there. And you are now just playing like a beast. I was expecting that. It didn't ever happen. He never was able to find any semblance of a gear. For my opinion, I think he was the most disappointing player, because I thought he had more opportunities and he just kind of squandered them. What do you think, Chris?
Yeah, I think that's probably fair. It looked like he was trying to force himself into gear, trying to force himself into a rhythm. Some of those misses, like, he's never going to miss some of them, but, you know, a couple of them. Anybody can miss anything. We all know that, but a couple of them,
especially on that table.
Yeah, but, you know, a couple of them were just, he wouldn't disagree with it, just unforgivable. The person I'm most disappointed for would be Jay, obviously, because his opponents keep playing good against him. And I'm not saying they're getting the run, but it just seems that nothing's going his way in a lot of the events for like the last year, maybe a bit longer. So I'm disappointed for him, I would say.
Jim?
Who am I personally disappointed in? I'm not going to name anyone that I'm personally disappointed in. I know that I can imagine which players are the most disappointed in themselves. And, you know, we've mentioned Victor, and Jay will be disappointed, maybe not with himself, but just it's another tournament where he never really got going in it. Anyone that lost in the first round will be disappointed, you know. But you know what? It's matchroom, one table setup. It's not like just walking into your local club or any other tournament or a Euro tour or that table, those lights, those TV cameras, they can do funny things to you. And we've seen very, very good players look very, very average on more than one occasion, whether it be at the Masters or the World Cup of Pool or the Mosconi Cup. it's very easy to turn around and say he played terrible, or everybody's had bad matches in there, and people struggle with it. And some people are made for it than others are. Some people take time to learn it. Some people just fall into it naturally. It's just very, 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 very tough. So, I mean, I'm not going to blast anyone for their performance, because if it was me out there, my arse would fall out and my cue would I wouldn't be able to hold my cue. You know, these guys, for anyone to play at a top level under those conditions is exceptional.
Well, Jim, we
surprised that some people struggle now and again.
We hit some balls on that table day 3 at the Mosconi Cup, right? I mean, Florian putting on that exhibition. I mean, we hit a couple balls on. I think you hit some balls on it, right? Yeah. I played like 3 racks against Florian just for fun, just like messing around and trying on that table. That table's brutal. I don't care how good you play. I mean, that table can make you look silly.
But that was also the table in the VIP room. That wasn't the table out in the arena.
Under the lights, yeah, of course.
That's even more brutal, under those lights, with the heat that comes off those lights and the cameras and all the crowd around you, people watching you, knowing you're on TV. It goes that takes it to another level of brutalness, you know. And I mean,
of course,
these guys, it's amazing. They make it look very, very easy, considering it's very, very difficult. And then you have these matches in between, like these performances, like Victor, or what's happened to Jason, or Filler getting beat by Niels, which was probably a little bit unexpected for most people. I had a feeling for Niels, but you never really, and it's just incredibly tough out there, and especially in the first rounds, because you're going there, you're not going to get a second chance. The last thing you want is to go all the way there and get beat in the first round. So there's some nerves in it. Somebody like Victor probably felt like, I'm big favorite against this guy. And I'm in the first round. He's thinking, I need to win this because I really should be winning it, And then you get a bit nervy. And then you've gone into your second match having played a poor first match, and you think your form is dipped. You think you're out of form because you played bad in your first match, and you've got to try and readjust. And if it doesn't happen for you, you get more and more weird crap happening in your head. And it's just very difficult. It's just a brutal game to play. Simple.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So I don't know what happened to Chris. It looks like his connection's maybe a little bit shaky, or maybe he needed to step away for a second. I guess. Well, why don't we use this as an opportunity? Let's talk next about the foul. I guess. Is there anything else that you wanted to say about the Masters? Obviously, congratulations to Ko Ping Yi. It's good to see you back on top. He's a great ambassador for the sport. He really actually. I mean, his English is not the greatest, but I'm telling you what. Like, I've been around him several times, just kind of like interacting with him and. Chatting with him. He's a really, really, really great ambassador for the sport. Really nice. Very happy to, sign a shirt or anything at any point in time. He's happy to talk to anybody as much as he can. Of course, there's that language barrier that you were mentioning earlier, but he's just the whole Ko Ping Yi, Ko Ping Chung, and Ko Ping Han. They're all just really, really great people and just really fun to be around. So it's always good to see him win an event like this. So is there anything else that you wanted to say about the event before we move on?
No, brilliant event, brilliant champion. Really enjoyed it. Some top quality pool. A lot of exciting stuff going on. Congratulations to Matchroom. Congratulations to the whole team, to the commentary guys. We mentioned them already. Thought they did a fantastic job.
Matchroom does it again.
Matchroom does it again. Can't wait for the next event.
Yep. All right.
UK
well, why don't we
Open,
take UK Open, baby? 2 weeks. 2 weeks. A week and a half.
No, 2 weeks. End of the month. Yeah, very end of the month.
Yeah. All right, so let's use this as an opportunity really quick to thank our sponsors, because without them, we wouldn't be able to do this. So check out this advertisement by Jacoby Custom Cues. We'll be back on the other side of it. All right, we're back. Yeah, that's next week. I'm hoping to have the mid-level Q of the year, which is the Q of the year. So Jacoby Custom Qs obviously has their Q of the year that they've 14 straight years they've either won it or taken second place in the Q of the year, which is pretty incredible. And they are the defending champs this year. So awesome for Jacoby Custom Qs. Thank you guys for taking care of us as well as you do. Let's move on to the Kachi foul incident. So if you haven't seen this, which I would assume you've all basically seen this at this point in time, if you're plugged in enough to be watching the show, Kachi has a closed bridge. He goes down on his shot and his pinky taps the 8-ball, rocks it just a little bit, and kind of stands up, gets out of his stance. I would assume he knows he hits it at that point in time because, he kind of twitched his hand a little bit. You can see it. The ref was standing behind them, so they weren't actually able to see it. And I guess the discussion becomes, do you think that is a cheater move from him, or do you think, what are your thoughts on it? And I guess, Jim, start us out. Go ahead.
Start with Chris.
All right, Chris, go ahead. Jim's scared.
I'm not going to call him anything like a cheat or anything like that.
You're quiet. Why are you so quiet?
Can you hear me properly?
Well, you're very quiet. Did you change your mic?
Yeah, I did. Yeah. How do I turn it up?
You
go.
All right, I'll go then.
That's a smart move. Jim, you're an idiot. For anybody who's not getting the video side of this, Jim's just like fake talking.
Right. Yeah, I'm not going to call anybody a cheat either. As a player, you would expect that you feel that when you touch a ball. And it's a foul. And the question is, there's been people back and forward on social media. Some say he should call it on himself. Some say it's the ref's responsibility. There's a side to both of that. Yes, it is the ref's responsibility to do it, but anyone that comes from a snooker background, especially, you're sort of taught within, and not even a snooker background. I think it's more of a UK thing, or even maybe outside of the UK now, through most of Europe, that you're kind of taught that if you make a foul, you just announced it as a foul, And I think a big part of the difference between, again, it's a difference between a cultural thing, Europe and the USA, and it's more of a rules thing, that in the USA, you've actually made rules to stop any arguments about this. And you said, okay, this tournament is only cue ball fouls and no all ball fouls. And if it's cue ball fouls and you touch a ball, as long as it doesn't move and change how the rack is or change anything in the rack, or you put it back and then it's not considered a foul. That's to stop arguments of people saying you touched that ball, your shirt touched that ball, your elbow touched that ball, whatever. And it just stops all the arguments. I mean, it's a foul, simple as that.
Yeah.
Nobody really knows 100% whether Kachi noticed that he had. It looks on the video as if his pinky touches it and then he moves his pinky away from it, sort of twitches away from it. Again, it's. I'm not going to call him a cheat, because some people don't see it as cheating because it didn't change the outcome of the shot he was playing. They don't even see it as an issue. I don't think he even won the rack. So a lot of people are saying, well, he didn't win the rack, so it didn't change anything. It's a difficult one. It's another one of those. I just wish it hadn't happened, and then we wouldn't have to talk about it. That's some eagle eye camera work that somebody's done for that, to put that video on. Because I don't think many people would have noticed it in real time. But there is also an argument to say, well, the referee's there for this reason, and if they don't see it, player integrity, player sportsmanship dictates that you call it on yourself if it happens.
I would say this. I guess I don't believe this to be. Well, Chris, did you want to take it first?
Yeah. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm just completely with Jim. You always thought that's one of the first things we talk to sports, especially over this side of the pond. You touch something, hands up. You know, there was just no other way to cut it. And you know, he's put it down. You can see his finger touch it, rocks it. He gets back up. He knows he's touched it. So from that point onwards, it's just completely down to him. But I don't think the referee's got any fault in any of that at all. I just don't. How many things can you watch at once? You just can't do it. It's just impossible. So I don't think the ref's got anything to do with it, you know, whatsoever. It's it happens every so often.
Well, I think we can get to that here in just a few. We had kind of discussed this kind of before the events, before we started the stream, right? And we're going to kind of say like, all right, well, I don't believe this to be the case, but I'm going to take the side of the argument just so that we have some, I guess, some argument back and forth. Is it as the player's responsibility? Is the player's responsibility? I would make the argument that the player. Well, I'm going to make this argument again. For anybody who wants to hate on me, this is not what I believe in. I'm taking this side of the argument just for argument's sake. I believe a player's job is to win a match. So within the bounds of what would be considered normal play or normal etiquette at a table, I don't think that it's absolutely necessary that you call that on yourself. With that being said, that is the reason why you have a ref there, right? Now, if you want to start talking about like, well, okay, the ref can't see everything, so we should be able to do some sort of video edit, some sort of video thing where, you know, if somebody notices it in the production team, they can say, all right, let's stop play and let's see what happened here and see if that's a foul. Maybe you want to do that. Maybe that's an option going forward. Is it absolutely Kachi's responsibility to call it on himself? As a player, I mean, you can make a serious argument that his job is to win the match, not to be the moral police. Now, with that being said, so this is no longer that Nate arguing for the sake of arguing. I do remember a situation back. So this is Nate, normal Nate taking over. I do remember a situation back in the Predator, back when One Sports was doing their stuff, and Eklund Kachi actually put his hand on top of what I want to say it was the 5-ball. Way back in the day, he put his hand on top of the 5-ball, and they were playing by all ball fouls as well. And he never called that on himself either. And I believe he actually ended up going on to win that match. And that would have ended up being a point for him out of that. If you can remember way back into the COVID days when they were doing the One Sports stuff, he never called that on himself either. And he absolutely knew about that because you can see on his stand up that he made the ball, but he jumped up super quick on it. And he shot it with, he's on his backstroke. He shot through like this and hit it on his way through. And he immediately jumps up right in the air right away. I'm going off of memory from this, but I do remember Kachi doing this in a situation then, and he didn't call it on himself then either. So this is at least consistent to the person that we know Kachi to be. That maybe that's the same argument. Is it his responsibility to win the match, or is it his responsibility to be the absolute moral police? I think that there's a very, very fine line, and it's just it's a giant gray area at the end of the day, and I don't think any of us are going to not argue on that, right? Or
well,
maybe we would.
It all depends what's more important for you. I mean, if you're it's also your reputation, whether or not you can do that and accept it within yourself that that's something you've done, or whether or not you truly believe that it didn't matter. I didn't move the ball; it just rocked. It's not changed the rack or whatever, and you for yourself think, yeah, I shouldn't be punished for that. If you truly believe that, and you're happy to take any flack that you might get afterwards for what you've done, then it could also be that he's in the heat of the moment. He's thought, "Oh crap, I've touched that. But I need this rack," and he's played it out, and then he thinks later, "I probably shouldn't have done that." That's going to be on TV. He now sees it on social media. Probably he's probably seen the video himself. He's seen some of the posts. Is he the kind of guy that is now sitting there thinking, crap, I shouldn't have done that? Or is he sitting there thinking, I don't care, whatever? You don't know. I don't know him personally enough for that. I really don't know. Like you say, yes, you can call it a grey area. It depends what your thoughts are on it. For me, it's not a grey area. For me, it's a foul. So it's not really a grey area for me. It's a foul, and you call it on yourself but there's a lot of people that believe in that, and they've done it themselves. I'll hold my hands up and say I've played a match before, and I felt something behind me that I thought was the rail as I'm going through on a ball. I thought it was the rail that my finger just grazed above. But when I stood up, I looked, and I was pretty sure that one of the balls wasn't in the spot that it was before. My opponent didn't say anything. I thought, okay, I'll just keep playing. I was pretty sure, if I had to bet on it, that it was the ball after looking down and seeing what was underneath me. And it was only afterwards that it was one of my teammates on the table before. He says, you touched that ball. I thought, well, I knew I touched something, but he didn't say anything, and I couldn't really see it. I just felt something. So I just kept playing. Afterwards,
let me ask you this question, because I guess I'm just trying to find out where to draw the line at the end of the day. So I had a situation. We're playing a local tournament. It's just like a little weekly event at my local pool room, and it was going to be a close hit on a double hit foul, and so somebody came over. We had a ref come over to watch the hit, and I shot the ball, and the referee that we had come over watch the hit said good hit. When they walked away, I said that wasn't a good hit. Take a foul, because I knew it was a foul. I could feel the double hit. I could feel that second contact. I knew that it was going to be a foul, but the referee that we had come over called it good. Where do you draw the line? So, like, if there's a ref on site and it's his job to make the call, and you know that he got that call wrong, do you still then call the foul on yourself, or do you just say, "Oh well, that's the ref that we got, and that's kind of how it happened"? What do you guys think on that situation?
So ref's word's final, isn't it? That's just all there is to it. If you've got a ref involved, there's nothing else you can do.
But those situations like that, the player knows best. You know when you've done it. You know when it's a foul. And whatever the ref says, what you feel and what you see are two different things. And as a player who's played the game and knows how balls react, then you know as well. But yes, if you've called the referee over and the referee says it's not a foul, and your opponent says, "Yep, okay, I accept the referee's decision," you're within your rights to turn around and say, "I'll keep playing." But are you happy to do that? Again, it's an integrity thing. What you're happy with, I mean, you've called the referee over for a reason.
Yeah. Well, it's my opponent's job to call a ref, and they did, and then it's my job to then accept that ref as the ref. Right. So at the end of the, I'm hard pressed to say that you can in one word say it's the ref's call that's final, but it's not the ref's call that's final in this case, right? Because if it's a ref's call that's final, then the ref has to call it. I mean, it's a little bit different if the ref can't see it, right? But it's also a little bit different if the ref gets it wrong and they get it wrong.
You've asked the referee to come and look at a specific shot because a specific foul might happen. So the referee, an experienced referee, knows exactly where to stand, exactly what to look for, exactly what to listen for a lot of the time as well, and to see how the balls react. So they are fully concentrated on what might happen. In this situation, the referee is standing in a spot that's not that is not designed for checking the 8 ball. She was checking other balls underneath his stomach or at his side or whatever. So she wasn't even in a position to see the 8 ball, So she's not considering the 8 ball as being a possible foul because it's in front and to the side of his hand. He's only touched it because he spread his fingers. He's got plenty of room to get his hand in there, as you saw by when he moved his pinky away from it again. Plenty of room to get his hand in there, So the referee's not considering the 8 ball as being an issue, So if you turn around and say, okay, he might foul that 8 ball, she's going to see it and she's going to call it. It was pretty clear. So it's a difficult one. I mean, again, people are going to have different opinions on social media. It's a cultural thing. It's what you're brought up to how to react to these situations, I guess. and nobody's ever going to completely agree on it. But I don't know. It would be interesting to hear. We won't, because we very rarely hear anything from Kachi on social media
to begin with. Yeah.
But it would be great to hear from him what his thoughts are, whether or not it was something that he was aware had happened, how he feels now that he's seen the videos and stuff like that, and the responses he's getting on social media. You talk about the previous situation that he had in another tournament. Maybe he doesn't see it as an issue. Maybe he just doesn't care. Maybe he doesn't give a shit what people think.
Yeah, I mean, maybe. And Graham actually asked this question. Yes, I remember a situation back when the virtual pool days was going on during COVID, and there was a situation.
Yes, that one. Yeah, the virtual pool. Yeah.
It's during one of the virtual pool tournaments, and I don't remember who he might have been playing against Albin, if I remember right. I think he might have been playing against Albin, but it was in the semifinals of the first ever
one
pool tournament. I'm trying to think of the name of the actual event, because it had an actual name. But it was in the semifinals of that. I'm almost 90% sure it was in the semifinals. He ended up going on to win that match. And I believe that was a run out too. It was in the semifinals. I'm sure you can probably find it on YouTube. I would assume it's got to be out there somewhere, but you can see that when he shoots through the ball like this, he shoots through it, and then his hand hits the ball, rocks just a little bit. Very, very similar actually to this, where the 8-ball just barely rocks. He didn't call it on himself there either. So there's definitely a track record of it. He's is he oblivious to both of them? No. There's no freaking way. Was he oblivious to one of them? Maybe. Was it both of them? No way. The way that he reacted on both of them, you know that he absolutely was aware of at least one of these things. And the fact that the consistency was the same the first time he did it and this time that he did it, I mean, clearly he doesn't look at it as his responsibility. And again, I fall on your guys' side of this, but to play devil's advocate, I could see a situation where, you look at your responsibility at the pool table as your job is to win. It doesn't matter how, as long as you stay within the relative rules of what is considered socially norm behaviors. Obviously, if you walk up to your opponent when he's about to shoot the case 9 ball and kick him in the forehead, obviously that's outside of what you would consider normal pool. But in this, I actually do believe in. I don't know that I do not believe that calling fouls on yourself is something that is part of your job as a player. Now, do you have to? I also believe that
it's part of your job as a human being to just be honest.
Well, that's what I was just going to say. I mean, with that being said, I don't think it's your job as a player, but I do think it's that if you're going to do that, then that there is supposed to be discussions like this where we talk about it. This, in some sort of way, it's almost our job to hold him responsible, to have a level of decency that we would want to expect from our favorite players, right? I mean, if we see you acting in ways that we would not agree to, I think that it's our job as the media to call you out on that. And I think that's what we're doing here. But I don't necessarily believe that it's his job as a player. But it is our job as a player to then hold you up in the lowest of regards and, count out, point out what you're doing. I don't know, Chris, you haven't said anything for a little while. What's your thoughts on that?
Well, what if his opponent had seen him do it? What if his opponent had seen him do it and then flags it to the ref?
What does he now say to his opponent next time he sees him at the tournament?
Well, other than that, but actually in the match, what happens at that point? Because it's unsportsmanlike conduct at that point, right? Serious foul. So he's going to get a first and final warning, right? It's not like it's a small thing. It's not like it's a small thing. It's in the WPA rules, unsportsmanlike conduct, and I think it falls into that, regardless of whether.
But I think what you're assuming is that Kachi would then agree that yes, I did this. That was my foul. I don't think that you could prove that he knew that he fouled, right? I think as long as he sits there and says, I didn't do it.
It's in the referee's judgment. So she'll go back, watch ask for a replay of it, watch it, decide that she's seen him nudge it with his finger. Then he stands back up, gets down to play his shot, and he's played his shot. So it's a judgment call, even on the ref.
Yeah, absolutely. And now we're talking about,
If I was in a panel of people that had to look at this situation, make a judgment call on whether or not he felt it and was aware of it, as a player, as somebody who's touched balls as well, we've all done it in Iraq. You've touched a ball. Very rarely does it, unless it's your watch or something like, or something you're wearing that touches a ball. If it's your physical, if it's your skin, part of your hands, your arm, even the hairs on your arm, you feel it if you get too close. All the evidence, if I was to make a judgment call on it and they were to ask me, Jim, we want you to make the judgment call on whether or not you think, he felt, I would say, judging by what I know of the game and touching balls, judging by his reaction, the way his pinky flicks back again, kind of thing, I'd say he's aware that he's aware that something there has happened that has made him sort of jump slightly and twitch.
Well, it kind of comes down to, and I don't know how the court systems work in the Netherlands or in the UK, but this is very similar to what we would say a civil case, or like an actual a ruling. Like in a civil case, it has to be more likely than not that you did it, right? And I don't think that anybody in the world would argue that he did not more likely than not feel that contact. But if you're going to be tried, outside of that, you have to be undisputed 100% evidence. This is what happened, and that's what it is. I mean, you have to get a jury of people that say this happened, definitely. The other way, in a civil suit, you have to be more likely to not have created that, right? So I don't think that anybody would argue with that. And I think if the ref was more likely than not, then she would absolutely rule that yes, he hit that. Is she 100% sure that he did that? And I don't know. And are you willing to? Because at that point in time in the match, if he gives up a foul there, he loses the match almost no matter what. I mean, he's probably losing no matter what, but he's probably 100% just about to lose from there. So are you willing to say, all right, I am sure enough that you did this, I am 100% sure that you did this, I'm awarding a foul if that happened? Or are you going to be somewhere in the middle because you don't want to be the one that decides the rest of the match? Yeah. It's different if it's 7-7, right? Because then if it's 7-7 in a race at 13, I think it's very easy to make that call. I think it's very easy to say, all right, well, yes, he fouled. But at the point of the match where this is probably the nail in the coffin, if she calls that, do you think that she would be more willing to call it then? It's hard to say.
I don't think it would matter to them. The referees that Matchroom have got are all top draw. They do snooker. They do events where there's much more on the line than what was online at the Masters, for sure.
Yeah, maybe you're right. Yeah, maybe.
I think
when you say it that way, because I do believe that. I think if there's one thing that's almost to a fault, the Matchroom's referees have too much courage in their convictions, if anything.
I mean, I mean, Ed Ladawi makes a very good point there. He said that a quote from Laster, who once said, "If Willie said it was a good hit, it was a good hit." How does this work now for Kachi? If Kachi says a good hit, who's going to believe him? You know, Chris Melling has given away matches on Hill, just a couple of balls on the table, and without even considering, he's just said, "Sorry, I fouled there." And people, what? He's like, yeah, I fouled. I touched that ball in my hand, or my clothes was on it, or whatever. It's a foul, and it's basically just 2 tap-ins, and it's cost him a couple of thousand euros without hesitation. Now, if Chris Melling says to you that was a foul or it wasn't a foul, then you're going to believe him because he's been honest enough to do it before. If he says a good hit, it's a good hit, and I think that's it. Your reputation means quite a lot, and you'll get less arguments if you turn around to somebody and say, "No, I did not. I promise you, I did not foul it." They're going to turn around and say, "Okay, if you say so, then fine, because I trust you." Kachi says it now after maybe there being 2 situations. Are you, as his opponent, are you going to sit there and go, "Oh, well, if you say it wasn't, then it wasn't"? No, you're probably going to keep going on saying, "No, I think it was a foul. I think it was a foul. I think it was a foul." So this is how it could end up having an effect on him in the future. People are just not going to believe him when he says it, maybe, or I don't know, or people just forget about it again, and then like a lot of stuff. Yeah.
Well, I guess at this point in time, for anybody who tuned in and didn't get my spiel in the beginning, I was not giving my personal opinion. I was trying to play devil's advocate for it because I'm 100% in lockstep with both of you. If there is anything that I would say is true, or that I believe, I do believe that it is a player's job to win a match, not to be the moral police. With that being said, you have to deal with the repercussions of that. I think I think at this point in time, with the two pieces of evidence that I've seen, I believe that Kachi is a player that is not interested in being honorable. He is interested in strictly winning in any way that he possibly can. And forever, I will look at him differently as a player because of that. I don't think that he should be giving opportunities. Well, actually, I think this is an interesting thought. Do you guys think that because he's done this, at least to my knowledge, twice that I can remember of, do you think that he should start losing out on opportunities on invite events like this because he gives a worse look for a player?
No.
Do you think that he should lose any opportunities?
No.
He gets his opportunities based on the other 99.9999999% of the time.
Sure. Okay.
You know, to take that opportunity. But I mean, there would be nothing wrong with somebody saying to him, you know, that's happened, you know, somebody from Matchroom perhaps. I mean, I'm not saying they should do this. I'm saying that, you know, would they be within their rights to approach him at the UK Open and say, listen, you can't be doing this. You're on live TV. It's a bad look. You know, all this crap that's going on social media. You know, we're trying to clean up pool, make it look like more of a, you know, a clean sport rather than this, you know, gambling, cheating, kind of sharking attitude that, you know, that it is all about winning and just it's all about the money. You know, we want to show that it's a professional sport with integrity, with players who are willing to, you know, play the game to the high standards that we want. If you're not willing to do that or you can't do that, then let us know, and you know, you'll be on the outside tables for every event when there's no camera on you. You know.
Well, I don't think you can do that either, because
we don't want to see that happening again. We don't want that to be going public. Yeah. We don't want that to be out there okay.
I mean, they can't do that because then you're giving him an unfair advantage, potentially. I mean, you're giving him an unfair advantage or a disadvantage, however you want to look at it. Well, I mean,
there's lots of players. There's lots of players that will never get a game on the TV table.
Sure. And it is a built-in advantage, right? That Shane gets to play on the stream table.
Yeah, exactly. He'll play one game on the outside tables in the whole tournament.
So I guess they're already not doing it in a fair way, adherently, and they should, right? Because not every player's. Yeah.
You earn your spot by being one of the players that Matchroom consider to be a good ambassador for the sport. A guy who's touching balls and not and considered as not being honourable is not the guy that's going to be the ambassador for the sport. You know, and I don't want to go in on Kachi because I like Kachi, you know, but he's burnt his fingers a couple of times with Matchroom by not turning up in the morning for matches and stuff like that, staying in his bed or playing his PlayStation till 4 o'clock in the morning and sleeping in. And now this is happening and that's happening, and he's not doing himself any favor. He's a really, really nice guy, and he's an amazing player. But does he need to just grow up a little bit and realize that he's a professional pool player? You know, I don't know what it is. You know. Yeah,
I don't know how much. I don't know how much farther I want to go down this rabbit hole, but
no, exactly. I don't want to go there any further. Let's just say that this is something that is going to, that if it continues to be discussed, nobody's ever going to agree on it.
Well, the thing I want to say off that is I think you're 100% wrong, and they're not going to want to put him on the TV table, because at the end of the day, they're not putting Earl Strickland on the TV table because it's, you know, because of his playing. They're putting him on stream because he's a polarizing person who might go off and do something crazy at any point in time.
Yeah, but that's different. That's different. You know,
it doesn't. My point is, it doesn't matter why.
Earl Strickland's already made the name for himself, you know. And
yeah, but you're missing what I'm saying. Whether you love watch somebody or you hate watch somebody, Matchroom only cares that you're watching. They don't care if you're watching to because you hate somebody so much you want to see him lose, or that you love him so much you want to see him win. They just care that you're watching. If they know that they're going to get a 10% bump from having Kachi on there because they're going to get 50,000 more people hate watching him, you're damn right they're going to put him on stream. They don't care. They're not going to like put him on the side tables because they're worried about their reputation. They have a product out there. They don't.
They've got plenty of other players that can do that for them.
But
I mean, I'm not just. There's a lot of top pros that they don't actually need in order to push the product. They've kind of got their core. You know, they've kind of got their core. And if you want to be part of that core, you're going to have to be either squeaky clean or a bit of a character. And you can't really say Kachi's a character, you know? And if he's not squeaky clean and he's not really a character either, and he's just a really, really good pool player, like a lot of them are,
Is that enough
Yes,
to
but
get in and be part of that group of pushing that Matchroom?
You're missing what I'm saying. You're missing what I'm saying. What I'm saying is if this leads to people hate watching him, right? Because if you get a character, you don't have to be a character if people are watching you for regardless the reason, right? Whether you're a really good player, whether you are beloved by your fan base, or whether you absolutely have everybody in the world that hates you regardless. What I'm saying is if Kachi gets a 10% bump from this, from people hate watching him, Matchroom doesn't care. They're going to take that 10% and they're going to put him out there as many times as it makes sense to. What I'm saying is if you start hate watching.
I'm not saying they should do one or the other. It was just a question. Would Matchroom be within the rights to turn around and say, hey, naughty boy?
Well, at the end of the day, you hope that Kachi has somebody in his corner that can pull him aside and be like, hey, this isn't going to be a great conversation, but this is for me talking to you to help your career. You can't be doing stuff like that. You hope that he has somebody in his corner that can pull him aside and do that. It's not Matchroom's responsibility.
Well, one of his sponsors.
Maybe one of his sponsors, but I don't think there's anybody within the player community or anything like that. Kachi's his own man. He does his own thing. I think he trusts what he does, and he doesn't really listen much to advice or he's got his way of doing things, and he believes that that's the correct way. And I'm not sure there's a player that he really, really, really respects enough, like Shane with Errol. If Errol wants to talk to Shane about something, Shane just sits there and listens, and he's like the top dog in Whirlpool, but he'll still listen to anything Shane's got to say. I don't think there's anyone within the player community that has that kind of connection with Kachi that can pull him aside and say, listen, mate, blah, blah, blah. I don't think he really...
Well, I don't think it has to be a player, right? I don't think it has to be a player.
Well, most of the time it is, unless like Chris said, unless it's a sponsor. But then you're getting a telling off from the teacher. You're not getting a telling off from a friend. You're getting a telling off from your headmaster.
Well, I mean, and maybe this is pool, right? But like, have you ever seen like a boxer, like a professional boxer in real life, or even just acting in real life? They always have a surrounding group of like 6 or 7 people. I mean, they move with a team. Same with basketball players. I'm sure football players are the same way. They have a team around them at all times.
Kachi doesn't have that. The Polish guys have it.
Absolutely, he does. Absolutely, he does.
Who?
Kachi always has people around. I don't know who they are. They're not players, as far as I know. Every time I've been in Vegas around Kachi, he has like 1 or 2 people around him that I don't recognize. All right. I don't know who they are. But he has like a little bit of a following. I assume that that's his team or that's his group. I mean, they might be his backers, they might be just friends, they might be family. I don't know, but I most of the time when I see Kachi around, he usually has a few people around him. And there are, I mean, pool is different, but what I'm saying is I've actually seen that with Kachi. I don't see many players that do have that, but around like boxing and stuff like that. I mean, those boxers always have a ton of people around them, and they call them their team, right? I'm just saying I hope that there's somebody in Kachi's camp that somebody can come to him and say like, hey, this isn't going to work, right? We got to do something different here. And maybe, at the end of the day, we don't know. All 3 of us would, if Kachi was on this program right now and said, I didn't actually feel that contact, all 3 of us wouldn't believe him, right? We all know, we all have played this game enough. We know what we feel and what we wouldn't, and we know that we would feel that in that situation. With that being said, I mean, it's possible that he would straight up deny that contact ever took place, and once he saw it, he'd be like, all right, well, I didn't feel it. There's a real chance that he would make that argument, and there's nothing we could do at that point in time. But I think we all would. I think we all know that he touched that, and he knew that he touched it. We just hope that there's somebody that can tell.
The discussion stops at that point, because then it's just a yes, you did, no, I didn't. Yes, you did, no, I didn't. Yes, you did, no, I didn't. There's no discussion to be had then.
Yeah,
and that's why you'll never get a conversation out of him to begin with it on it.
Unlikely. He's not big on explaining things and saying things. Even his Facebook posts are very, very short. Nowadays he just second place Whirlpool Masters. Thanks, Matchroom. That's it. Yeah. But it's probably nothing's going to happen from this. People will discuss it for a while, then it'll be forgotten about until it happens again. Yep. If it happens again, and then we'll go back to it and say, remember the Whirlpool Masters when he touched that 8 ball with his... Yeah, okay, yeah. I mean, let's hope it's not a recurring thing. And And I personally, for the players out there, I'd like to see, if you make a foul, just call on yourself. Especially when you got 10 TV cameras pointing at you, and somebody's going to notice it, and you're going to look a bit silly if you don't do it.
Yeah.
But let's not take away from the fact that he played absolutely amazing,
incredible
for let's call it 3.5 matches. Yeah, played amazing pool. Yeah, really enjoyed seeing him playing well again.
Well, I don't know. I guess, is there anything else we need to talk about? I don't have anything else on my list. I thought that was a pretty fun discussion on that, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Chris?
Yeah, just one more thing from me. Jason Twist, former World 8-ball champion, English 8-ball champion, passed away a couple of days ago. Unbelievably nice guy. He was really, really kind to me once. He was a hero of mine growing up, watching him. I had videos of him and stuff. Just an unbelievable player. I think he's probably one of the people that changed the game, if you're a geek and know about the change from the old rules to the newer type rules. But yeah, obviously just condolences to his family. Just unbelievable player, and just, yeah, sad news.
Yeah, I met him. I think I only ever met him once. I think it was a Moscone Cup. It might well have been the one in Blackpool. And just genuinely a really, really, really nice guy. So to anyone that was connected with him, family, friends, and sad times, condolences. Yeah, what more can you say? Yeah.
Yeah. And I guess, not that I want to take this from there, but condolences. Well, I'm not an English 8-ball player, obviously, so I don't know who he was, but it sounds, from what I've seen on Facebook, everybody seemed to have positive things to say about him. So I will extend my condolences. And then I do want to make before I guess check out here for the podcast today, I do want to make an apology. I apparently just didn't upload. I made drafts of the last 3 episodes from the podcast and then just never actually released them. So last week you should have gotten a kind of a bombardment of podcasts that I made as drafts, but never actually sent them out. So I apologize if, and thank you to the people who reached out and said, hey, what's going on with the podcast? I haven't seen one for about 2 weeks. Somebody reached out to me enough, and I kind of like, oh, what the heck's going on here? And so I looked into it. So I do want to give that update as well. And then on the sign-outs, I do want to give a thank you to the Patreons who are big supporters of what we do here. I do want to start giving a shout out to them. I need to figure out a way where I can start pushing this more and making it more exclusive and making it better options. But Chris Henry, Dina Copeland, Matt Poland, who is actually in the chat. So thank you very much. Thank you all for joining in and being a big supporter of what we do here. It really allows us to continuously, I guess, do the show. So thank you all. Those are the big supporters that we have. So I want to just give a shout out to them. With that being said, I guess let's tune out for this week. And yeah, thanks everybody for joining. Thanks everybody for tuning in. Actually, no, yeah, I need to get better on this Patreon thing because I think we need to active. Here we go. Got it. Yes, Dave. What's Dave's last name, Jim? I need to get this right. So, Hyborg?
Hybo.
Hybo?
Yeah.
Hybo. Okay. Yeah. So these are the people I need to thank. Mo Bashir, Dave Wiersma. I call him the worm. Dave Hybo? Hybor. Gotcha. I don't speak your language. I'm an idiot.
Just call him Double Dave.
Double Dave. Yeah, that's and he's got a Q company too, right? Out of the Netherlands. Yeah. So if you're in the Netherlands, hit him up. Buy some stuff from him. Ben Young, Cody Wettig, Ed Ladawi, who was also in the chat, Morgan Lupton, and then Matt Poland. Thank you guys all for supporting the podcast. We really appreciate it. I need to figure out some things that I can make this more exclusive and more of value. To be honest with you, I've taken on so many projects that it's really hard to keep up with things, but these are the people I really need to take care of because they make all this possible. So thank you to those people. And with that, we're going to sign off this week. Thank you guys for joining us. Thanks, Jim. Thanks, Chris. And we'll see you next week.
Cheers.
See you guys.